All right, everyone, it is Dokkan time again, and the most random Ultimate Clash Battlefield LR just showed up on Dokkan Battle, and it is Dokkan time. So, if you're new to the channel, my name is Saiyan. I typically do build videos and Dragon Ball based videos. That sounds good to you, please go ahead and plunge the like and subscribe button into the dead zone so that it will forever be locked in to you watching this channel. Actually, yeah, don't do that. That sounds terrifying even to me. So, we're just going to go through the breakdown of the unit, defense options, build suggestions, and role tips. And just as a disclaimer here, of course, it is only a suggestion. You don't have to follow everything in here. It's just we're just running it down. It's only a suggestion. That's why I say build suggestions, quote unquote. But anyways, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So remember, this guy is a quote unquote free to play unit, so judge him accordingly. He is also a Battlefield / Ultimate Clash unit, meaning that you do not have the ability to rainbow him for at least 4 to 6 months. It will be a very long time before you will be able to rainbow him. At 55%, he is decent, but honestly, he is still a free-to-play unit, so judge him accordingly. I do think that he is worth grabbing, but please do follow my my Battlefield Ultimate Clash video to understand that there are some units that you should be grabbing first. But I would have to say, and I probably will comment it in that video's comments, that this guy is taking a little bit of a higher priority now compared to some of the other Battlefield Ultimate Clash units. I still think you should be grabbing like Ginyu Force units first, of course, but otherwise, I honestly think this is the next best Battlefield unit, and he could be very useful for a lot of potential gimmicky points of the game. So let's go ahead and move on. 200% options, he actually has quite a few, as he is Demonic Power, Terrifying Conqueror, etc., etc. The new Goma, he is a movie unit as well. Technically, he shouldn't be, but he is. So he is on the Angel Golden Frieza movie boss team, or not Angel, but yeah, you get the idea. So he is on quite a few teams, including the new Mini 4Q Daima, and Demonic Power-esque teams, so he does have a lot of options as far as teams go. His own leader skill is Movie Boss's Ki +3 HP attack and defense 130. His 12 key is raising defense for 1 turn, and his 18 key is raising attack and defense for 6 turns, and supporting the allies' defense on rotation by 20%. Now, this is unfortunately because it only applies to himself and the 3rd slot unless you throw him into slot 1. I don't think there's going to be too many times where you actually throw him into slot 1. So majority of the time you won't be taking advantage of that support, but it is nice that it's there. As far as the 6 turns thing, this essentially means that he only keeps the stack from the 18 key super for turn, for example, turn 1, 3, and then that's it. Once you hit turn 5, you will technically put a stack onto that, having 3, but you're going to roll over that 6 turn point, and by the time he comes back around on turn 7, you will have lost your previous stack that you had before from turn 1. So at that point, you're always rolling with 2 stacks, not 3. As long as he's actually supering every single turn, by the way. Now, his passive skill does have an intro, which requires you to have 2 or more Demonic Power or Movie Boss allies on the team. He does get defense plus 100%, and Demonic Power or Movie Boss allies are getting attack and defense of 60% for 3 turns, and he does infinitely change tech or rainbow keys to rainbow key spheres. So the support is temporary to 3 turns. Once again, this is kind of gimmicky. You could use this in quite a few areas of content where you can just get the buff and float him off. Now, Ki +5, attack and defense 200. He receives an additional Ki +2 per rainbow key sphere attained. And when all allies attacking in the same turn are Demonic Power or Movie Bosses, attack plus 200%, damage reduction rate of 40%. Unfortunately, what this right here does mean is that you do need to have a full team of Demonic Powers and Movie Bosses. because this is essentially his entire kit, is this 40% damage reduction, and is the only way he's going to live a lot. So I do have to say this does limit you aggressively to the team combinations you can have with him, unless you're just using him for this and then float him off. Now, this is the gimmicky part of him. 2 or more AGL key spheres obtained, he gets 20% damage reduction. So this means every time you get 2 AGL key spheres, he'll have 60% damage reduction. Now, if you get 1 intelligence key sphere, you can get 20% damage reduction. If you get 1 STR key sphere, you can get 20% damage reduction. If you get 1 or more physical key spheres, you can get 20% damage reduction. So if you, for whatever reason, cannot get 2 AGL key spheres, you do have all of these options right here one time to get an extra 20%, which would put you still at only 60%. There is no way to grab 2 different key sphere color types, so you are still only getting 60% damage reduction in total. Now, when the character or an ally is attacking the same turn as KO'd, starting from the 4th turn, he will revive and recover 80% HP. So he is an easy revive unit. He can very much die very quickly if you threw him into slot 1, if you wanted to abuse this, but you can only abuse it starting from the 4th turn of his entry turn. So this could be the really hard point to use this. Now, after the character or an ally's revival skill is activated, attack plus 250% and launches an additional attack with a 50% chance of becoming a super attack. And then one time only, demonic power movie boss allies attack and defense 60% and chance of performing a critical hit by 30% for 3 turns from the next attacking turn. So essentially what would happen here is if you revive, you will go straight to the next turn. So from that point on, you are having the demonic or movie boss category support here of 60% for 3 turns. So Garlic Jr. himself will only see this activating one time only for him, and that is it. But for everyone else, it'll be for once or twice. Now, his links are Demonic Ways, More Than Meets the Eye, Metamorphosis, Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest, Fear and Faith, and Legendary Power. Honestly, kind of a classic set of links. Obviously, the more, like, the ones you want to look at are Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest, and Metamorphosis. His main partners are actually going to be a large portion of free-to-play units. Goma being his best link partner. I think we could see some interesting push on Goma, have some funny runs with him, essentially, being a demonic power unit. You know, it's kind of funny. These two are kind of very similar in a weird way, if you really think about it. Anyways. Otherwise, I think in the future, this Frieza is going to get a super easy A. So this will be a nice free-to-play kind of rotation thing to be rocking. I do see Slug being used in some demonic power areas for his scouter ability. I can see some people trying to abuse this as a partner. And I do think that this STRLR cooler will, in the very near future of about a year or so, get an easy A. And honestly, by the time this guy easy A's, you probably will finally get enough dupes for this Garlic Jr. to even use him very well. So, Janembas are also an option, but unfortunately, we don't have too many more Janembas in the game that are eligible for easy A or super easy A. The next one that we can see is STR Janemba. Most of these other Janembas are kind of like hit or miss depending on the content. And, yeah, so. But anyways, that's it as far as his kit goes and everything. Let's go take a look at his defense. Defense is complements of Blood Raven. Now, at 55%, which is what you're going to be rocking for the first long time with this guy, he is a free-to-play unit, and you can only get him at 55% first and foremost. So turn 1 intro up, you're only looking at like 2.4 million defense on super. Pre-super, he has virtually no defense, so he does need a super to get his main defense in there. With 1 super attack up and 60% support, turn 3 or intro is still up. You can get up to 2.73 million defense on a double super if he magically double supers with how low of a chance he has. You know, 60% damage reduction and 2.7 million defense is actually really good. So at 55%, he's not looking too bad. With 2 stacks in him, Still within the revive phase and support, you can see anywhere up to 2.5 million defense, 2.2 maybe on 2 stacks. He does have a very decent amount of defense on super, but it's all within those turns of him actually having his own buffs. So, with no revive or activation or anything, you're still looking around the 2 million range, but you could be below the 2 million marker. And with only 60% damage reduction, you could still get killed from 6 million supers. So just be very careful. He is still a very good unit. And Bloodraven is counting this with big bad bosses more than meets the Iron Thirst for Conquest, so it is a lot of defense links. So if you're not having all of these going off, you could be seeing him much weaker defensively. Now, eventually one day when he does Rainbow, it will happen one day, you could see much higher numbers going all the way from that 2 million up to a 3 million range, up to 3.2, 3.5 million range. It is very possible his defense can get much better as time goes on, as you get more dupes. So I do think he still has some viability in the future with that 60% damage reduction and revive ability. I think his defense is good enough to be surviving actually in a decent amount of content. You do have to be very wary of AoEs though. AoEs could severely hurt him. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the builds. 55%, which is what majority of us will have on day one of this guy. I would just honestly suggest throwing in more additional. Maybe you can replace the bronze with like a high level defense orb. That could actually go a long way for him too, like a level 7 defense orb if you got it. But otherwise, I mean, he's still a free-to-play unit, and as of right now at 55%, he's just not going to be totally crazy. So at 55%, just kind of go with this for the time being, maybe a defense orb instead, and just see where you can go. Now, eventually, in the months to come, you will get eventually one dupe, or the ability to get one dupe. Okay, so slight error, not really error, more like I was thinking after I already uploaded this, but I would have to say that you can technically go with more of a damage kind of focus build or with crit. I think that it's very possible. Garlic Jr.'s damage actually is pretty gnarly to the point of where it's questionable on him being free to play. At Rainbow anyways, 55% he's probably not going to look that crazy, but on the one dupe focus, if you really feel like he wants that extra damage, then by all means go for crit. I do get it. He is a free-to-play unit at the end of the day, so it's not likely that everybody's going to drag him into difficult content. The current builds on the video all are just purely for the sake of longevity. So more than likely, at the end of the day, you know, this is a free-to-play unit, and the game will progress with or without him, so maybe his 40, 50 million damage won't be that crazy, but after doing a little bit of testing, I can honestly say that crit can definitely be a valid throw-in build. It just depends on the player. Are you going to treat him more as just a revive mechanic with some support, or are you actually going to give him a little bit of crit? You can do either or, but if you are going to give him crit, I do suggest focusing it. Don't give him just a little bit. A little bit is not going to go a long way in the case of this unit. If you want to give him any form of crit, you need to go full throttle. So at one dupe, go 3 out of 4 of the bottom right-hand nodes into crit at level 9. Switch out the bronze with a crit orb and the silver with a crit orb to pump that up to a 16. That's a 32% chance to crit at the very least. And then once you get a second dupe, eventually in the several months that it'll take, switch out the gold for another gold equip, and then switch the bronze back to a defense orb, because at that point he still is going to need defense, especially in the far off future. But at least with a level 15 naturally, and then increasing it by 10%, the 25, that's a 50% chance of crit, and that's a very healthy level of chance to actually do some good damage. Demonic power is just so good that I didn't realize how much you could really ramp up his damage, so I do feel like this build is valid. Unfortunately, at the time of recording with a 55%, I still would suggest what I have as 55% in the video as it is, but for 1 dupe and above, you can definitely go more towards crit once you get to that point. You decide based on your experience with him at 55% on how you want to progress with that. Okay, apologies for all of that. Let's skip back to the regular video. Honestly, at this point, it's when I actually do suggest he just goes full dodge. I don't think you're going to get him to additional attack enough, or on a average enough time frame that it will actually be consistent and able to depend on. By the time we start getting dupes for this guy, his additionals are going to be more like, oh, that's nice, but it's not going to save him. So I think that in some cases you should just honestly go for a dodge, because he's just kind of there to revive, to support, and that's it. He's doing decent damage. He is doing decent damage for a free-to-play unit, and I do see where a lot of people will want to use him more offensively and go for a more raw defense, because he still does have 60% damage reduction, and for all we know, we could get a unit that gives him more damage reduction in the future. And in that case, I could say, yeah, go for it, give him additional instead of dodge and flip this around. But as of right now, I feel like he's more of a gimmicky kind of unit with that revive and with his support. Because here's the thing, like, people don't understand is, like, his defense is good while this 60% is alive. He has this 60% during the first 3 turns, and then he loses it after his first 3 turns. So turn 5, turn 4, he doesn't have that buff anymore. And then unless you revive, you're not getting this other 60% defense for 3 turns again. So it's it's pretty rough when it comes to his defense, because it's very, very dependent on where you're at in the fight and how many turns have elapsed. And if he's not actually keeping stacks from previous turns with his 18 key, his defense will be very much lower. And I just feel like in those kind of instances where he doesn't even get the chance to attack, it could just be not good for him. So I do feel like your experiences will vary with him, but overall I think he's still going to be very good. He's just going to have a varying level of difference in fights based on how the fight goes for you. So for right now, I kind of am leaning more towards the full dodge route, but I do think that it is possible to go for a full additional route as well. And for those that actually do want to go for a more kind of raw defense amount, I would kind of suggest more around this area where you actually do give him the defense orb, and then you give him more towards additional. So at a natural level 14 on the bottom right hand path, you can, with a silver level 5 equip, you can get that up to a 19% additional chance. And then the final node you put into dodge. I will say that this guy can do some damage, but I don't think it's enough to focus crit on. Especially with the nature of the unit. I feel like he doesn't need to crit, but by all means, you can throw crit into him. But in my eyes, this guy is primarily here to survive, revive, and support. He is primarily a revive unit forced to support the team. It doesn't mean he can't do good damage. He can actually do some pretty good damage. I think this unit can hit anywhere from 30, 40 million damage. So, I mean, crit wouldn't be the worst, but at the end of the day, because I feel his role is primarily to just be used as a revive unit and to support the team, I don't want to give him crit personally. And I don't really suggest it overall, because it's hard to say how well he will age. Because it's going to take so long to even get 1 dupe, or even 2, or 3, or 4. Speaking of which, for a rainbow option, if you want to go for the full additional route, level 17 and put 9 into the dodge chance, and put both the level 5 gold and silver into additionals. This is a 54% chance to additional. You can really increase his defensibility raw with his damage reduction. But if you want to aim more towards the route of a full dodge support unit, then by all means, go full dodge, that will also work as well. You'll essentially end up having the same level here, but if you're going to go for this route of full dodge, you might as well just take off the defense orb, because at that point, you're not relying on his raw defense, you're relying on his RNG of just dodging and not dying. His defense is good, but he's not going to survive everything. So with that, you can put the remainder of his nodes into additional. So you do have still a little bit of additional in this route, but it's still not relying on raw defense. So now we're just going to go ahead and go into the role tips and finish this up. So role tips wise, he is still a support unit through and through, I feel, with his revive and support for the team, though he does have a decent level of damage, I will say. And he is a free-to-play unit, so just keep that in mind. Leader-wise, Movie Boss, AGL, or not AGL, but Golden Frieza, Goma is a solid 200%, and then Mini Forku and Glorio as demonic power teams. Remember, you do want to have a full team of demonic power in these cases, and then on Frieza's case, a full Movie Boss team. Partner-wise, Goma is a perfect partner for him, and a bunch of potential EZAs in the future to help him out. The primary thing you're going to be looking for is big bad bosses in general, and then you're going to be looking towards like Thirst for Conquest and so forth as well for extra defense from all of those links. Best slot position I would say is honestly 2, because you have to keep his 18 key stacks off. Not getting this 18 key stack off will actually dramatically hurt his defense if he doesn't get the super attack. It is kind of a very ballsy move to keep him on rotation. I will say that is very ballsy to do that, but yeah, you're gonna want to potentially keep him on rotation. If you choose to float him, just be very wary that he's gonna lose his intro and he's gonna lose access to his revival support, and he just won't be doing much else for the team. But it is of course something you can do. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much going to be it for him. I do think that he is a good unit overall, and it just sucks that we have to wait freaking months upon months upon months to actually get him beyond 1 dupe. So just remember that. Anyways, guys, let me know what teams you're going to run him with, and how you're going to plan to build him, considering at the time of recording we can't really do much. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a good day and a good night.